Hey, good morning, everybody. Looks like we are live. It is Saturday morning, Multifamily Unplugged. Welcome. I hope that you are having a great day. Hey, if you're in Chicago, the sun is out today. It's a little brisk, but it's out. And our guest, though, is from California today. We'll get to her in a minute. But I just hope that you are working on your intentions today. Looks like we have some people already logging on. That's exciting. What are you looking to do today? What are you looking to do in your business and your growth? How is that working in your life? And what are your plans moving forward? Today, we're going to cover some great content. I know the title said, the ADU craze. What's the ADU? Auxiliary dwelling units. And these are housing units that you can put in a backyard, basically. And we're going to have our guest talk about that today. There's a lot of things going on. The month of March here, I want you to think about a few things going on. We have a Women's Day event coming up on March 8th. Great event, couple of really great speakers that'll be talking. That's a virtual event, March 8th, the morning, 8 to 11. Have two speakers. If you want to register for that event, please send my assistant, Diana, a email at admin@mycoreintentions.com. On March 3rd this week, we have a passive investing seminar coming up. Just a webinar, just kind of going over what the fundamentals strategy behind passive investing is, how to look for good deals, how to vet a sponsor, how to really get your toe in the water or put your whole foot in the water. So we're not, it's not a specific deal. It's just the basic fundamentals about passive real estate investing, whether that be multifamily or single family or in ADUs, which we're going to talk about today. So just wanted you could go to my website again, mycoreintentions.com, get signed up for that webinar also. And then, of course, at the end of the month, we have our first boot camp this year. It's a full day boot camp. It's going to be on March 24th, and it's multifamily fundamentals. I'm going to spend all day going over everything, language and techniques and the fundamentals theory around multifamily. I know when I went from selling residential real estate, jumping in the fire of multifamily, there was so much to learn. So we want to cover a lot of that and help you take a look at how the economies of scale, how passive and active multifamily or investing are different from each other and how that'll work in your interest, whatever you want to do. So let me introduce our guest this morning. Oh, to register for the boot camp, you want to go to mycoreintentions.com. There's a registration link right on the front page there. My guest today is Stephanie Gutierrez from Long Beach, California. I'm excited because she's going to come and talk to us about the ADU craze and the what's going on with that and how because of the housing shortage in this country right now, we have the ability to utilize ADU as additional living space. What's funny is this week I talked to somebody and they said that there's more cranes and more temporary fences in the United States than there's ever been in history. And if we were to deliver all the product that's currently under construction, we'd still have housing shortages in the millions. So, how do we fill that void? We have large demographics of people that are coming into the market looking for housing. How do we fill that void? Well, let's bring Stephanie in and see what she has to say about how to fill that. Hey, Steph, how are you?
Hi, Mike. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm so excited that you're here. You and I have tried to, we met on Clubhouse,
Yes.
and we have a mutual friend, Omar, and we met on Clubhouse, and then we kept saying, hey, let's get connected. Let's get connected. You and I chased each other around on Instagram for a while. And finally, we have a chance to talk. I actually thought that we'd have an offline conversation and get to know each other a little bit, but this platform's better than ever. So I love that we get the chance to do
It's
this.
amazing. I mean, I feel like we've been knowing each other. We've shared some stages together, and now being able to see each other face to face is awesome. I mean, honestly, it feels like I know you because we've shared so many stages together. So thank you again for having me.
Isn't it funny how social media does that and, puts you in an environment where, all of a sudden now you see somebody and I have a friend. He tells a story. He's sitting on an airplane, and one of the flight attendants at the front of the airplane is like hitting his notes on his hand like this, which is what my friend does when he's on stage, right?
Right.
And the he looks at the guy next to him. The guy next to him says, "Hey, he must be mad at you." And he goes, "No, he's seen me on YouTube. He knows me from YouTube, social media, right?" So it's kind of funny how you meet people and learn about people. So listen, tell the listeners about you, Stephanie, and give some context around who you are, what you do, your background, how you got in this crazy world of real estate.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, again, thank you for having me. My name's Stephanie. I'm a realtor in Long Beach, California. I got into real estate back in 2011. I started off at a Century 21 office here in South Bay. I was working the front desk, then eventually got into marketing and recruiting new agents for that office. I then ventured off into managing real estate teams. I managed 3 real estate teams in Palm Springs, then moved back home to Long Beach, and I worked as a buyer's agent for my brother's real estate team. My brother's a realtor as well. And I did that for 4 years. And during COVID, what was that, like 2 years ago? I don't even know how long COVID's been around.
Yeah, March is 2 years.
Okay. So 2 years ago, I decided to then branch out and do my own thing and then create my own team. But when I was a buyer's agent, that's when the whole ADU thing came up, right? Because I was showing many properties, I was working with a lot of buyers and investors, and they were asking me, well, hey, what can I do with my detached garage? What can I do with this huge lot size back here? Like, what can we add back here? And as a realtor, I felt like I couldn't service them as well because I'm like, well, they're asking me all these questions and I don't know which way to guide them. So that's kind of where the whole ADU thing came from, besides the fact that, when legislation passed in 2019 or 2018, it made it much more accessible for homeowners to build ADUs in their backyard, and it much easier, right? The process now has been much more streamlined, especially in cities like Long Beach, LA City. They've got pre-approved plans now, and I'll get into details with that. But that's kind of what started the whole spark with the ADU stuff, is buyers wanting to know what they can do. That led me to reaching out to people on Instagram, experts about ADUs, started connecting with contractors, GCs, architects, structural engineers, every single person from the team that you would need in order to build an ADU, and started interviewing these people and asking them questions. And then slowly but surely, who you surround yourself with definitely matters, because a lot of that stuck. And then I just made it a goal to position myself as the ADU realtor. I think you'll begin to see a lot of realtors jump on that because it is essential. We need to deliver service, excellent service to our clients. And that's one way to stand out, is being able to guide them through the entire process, right? Especially for those first-time home buyers. I learn a lot from Mike. I'm quickly wanting to transition and apply the ADU strategy in the multifamily space, because once you learn about it, you understand how powerful the strategy is. And it's powerful both on the residential side and the ADU side, multifamily side. Now, here in California.
Let me just ask a quick question.
Yeah.
Is this ADU craze, is this just California or is it national? And when you talk about legislation, was that legislation just passed in California, or was that a federal law nationally?
So that was only in California. And I think California is doing a great way of leading and paving the way for ADUs. The White House recently had a webinar in which they talked about possibly making this a nationwide. So it's not nationwide yet. However, it is common and popular in other states. I know in Colorado, it's kind of a thing, and Boston, it's now becoming a thing. So eventually, I think once municipalities, become more aware of it, and because it is a housing shortage situation, this is something that can definitely help every state, right? So I think it's just a matter of time before it becomes nationwide. But for now, yes, it is more of a Cali thing. And which is why, as some people look at me and they're like, why are you talking about ADUs? They're not even popular out here. And they may not be in your town just yet, but they will be. And I think that either way, it's just a great strategy to know about so that you can, again, have something to deliver to your clients, right? You may
Mm.
have people that are looking to invest here or in another state, and it'd be great for you to implement the strategy, because what it allows you to do is it allows you to basically build up to 1,200 square feet in your backyard. Now, an
Now,
accessory dwelling unit is what we would call a casita, a rumpus room, a back house, a basement conversion, right? A ground up conversion. I mean ground up work. It can be a detached garage. There's so many different terms for it, but the main one that we talk about now is ADUs. Yeah.
so it could be either an existing building, or are people actually building buildings? Remember there was an insurance commercial on TV for a while where it was the she shed.
The
He-
she shed.
yeah.
I don't really watch TV. I don't remember.
So some guy was, giving his wife a hard time about the shed that she built in the backyard, and it's a she
Okay.
shed. And um, yeah, I don't watch TV either. It just happened to be a commercial. But so can this be either existing, or are you building something new on these?
Both. So
Okay.
that's the beauty to it. Yes, you can, it can be a ground up project up to 1,200 square feet. If it's detached, you can also, I mean, it can also be attached, right? There's different types of ADUs. So first it's understanding what an ADU is, which is, and it's an accessory dwelling unit. You can build up to 1,200, you can convert existing space. And then there's different types of ADUs. And the most popular ones here, and it depends in your market, because I know if you go further up to, I don't know if you know who Jen is. Jen is out in Portland.
Okay.
She's another realtor out there. Where she's at in her market, basements are definitely much more popular. Where
Right.
I'm at, we have a lot of detached garages, and that's what's been the popular ADU craziness that's been happening. A lot of detached garages have been converted to existing, I mean, to livable space, right? That can be a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. That can be a 2 bedroom, 1 bath. It can be a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, up to 1,200 square feet. That's a pretty decent size.
So Stephanie, what's the difference between, somebody taking their basement, converting that, doing short-term Airbnb rentals versus the ADU rentals?
It's no different. Obviously, you want to check with your local rental ordinance on what their STR laws are, because, for example, here in Long Beach, you cannot do short-term rentals for less than 30 days. So you want to make sure that in your area, in your market, they allow it. I think areas like Berkeley would allow a short-term rental. But really, there is no difference. If you can STR that unit, then it's a great cash flow opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if these ADU units were used for all long-term or short-term rentals. So,
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely get creative with it. Now we've got travel nursing, we've got, contractor stay, we've got 6 weeks to 6 months, you've got long term. You definitely can get creative with the tenant, terms
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Real estate has really kind of transitioned over the years. I remember when I first got in the business, there was no short-term rentals, no AD, none of this auxiliary stuff that we have today that we can capitalize on. You know, um, and then when I went in the apartment business, there was a guy, he had a model that was for medical students. So he had a rental program in buildings that he would buy. He only rented to med students in their last 2 years because they were never home. They were always at the hospital, 18 hours a day. So
Mm,
his wear and tear was low. He had
yes.
2 year leases. So it was a really interesting model. So, um, hey,
It's a great model. I really like that model. And obviously, it's a great strategy, right? If you're going to go the medical travel nurses route, then looking at your investment location near hospitals is going to be great. You can obviously target a certain demographic and target a certain avatar, which is ideal, right? Like you
yeah,
don't want to target somebody that if you have no strategy behind it.
yeah. Hey, what'd you do before real estate? What's your background?
So before real estate, I was actually working at a pediatric ophthalmologist. So I did
Okay.
medical billing for a minute. Yeah, it was a short minute though, because
Okay.
that was like my first job out of high school. During high school, I helped my mom in her flower shop. I had other, customer service jobs. I did like Bank of America surveys in Spanish for a few months. But yeah, that's kind of my background. Not much, honestly, besides real estate, and
Yeah.
it's a topic that I enjoy a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's why I asked, because you have to, I think uh, is there something in somebody's blood that causes them to be able to go do all the research that you've done? Because you rattled off a whole bunch of people that you went and interviewed and did research on to figure this system out, right? And
Yes.
you made a decision. Where did the thought come from that you said, hey, I'm going to be known as the ADU realtor here in my market, right? And where did that come from for you? How did And then the foresight to go and talk to all the people that you needed to talk to put that team together.
Great question. I haven't shared it much, but I did talk to I worked or was going to work with a few people in the industry that I should have vetted before working with them. And that's really what sparked and kind of made it a more of a personal thing where I said, you know what, I'm really going to make a decision here and really be the go-to connector. I consider myself to be a social connector. And I said, okay, well, if I wasn't able to trust this person, how could a client or somebody who's not in the industry, how can we protect them from something like this happening to them, right? From them being able to work with somebody that they didn't correctly vet, or really they weren't doing what they said they were doing. They weren't really building ADUs, or they weren't really financing them. And so that experience is really what led me to kind of take it to the next level. And really, that's when I told myself, I really want to connect with people who are in the industry, really get to know the ropes, understand the ADU process from start to finish. And honestly, I've done a great job with and surrounding myself with people like you, like Andrew, like Omar, the go-to peoples in their market when it comes to ADUs, and honestly, just asking great questions. And that's kind of what led to it. And now, yeah, now this is where we're at. This is where it's taken me. I have my own podcast as well, and it's all pertaining to ADUs. And it's a topic that I love. Had somebody told me at the beginning that as a realtor, I should have got a niche, right? And I should have niched down, I would have done it from the beginning. So
Mm.
that was another reason why I did it as well. I said, okay, well, I see this as an opportunity for not only my clients, but also for myself to position myself as an ADU realtor or an ADU expert within the field.
So how
Yeah.
long were you in real estate before you made the transition?
So let's see. I've been in real estate since 2011. I got licensed in 2017, and I transitioned to the whole ADU thing 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Got it. Okay, good. So, can I ask what your production was like as as a real estate broker?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. So let's see. First year with my brother, I think we sold like 40 something. The second year was like 50 something. Third year, 40 something. So it's been over 100 plus properties that I've sold
Okay. Okay,
under
great.
team production. And then obviously I've managed other teams.
And did you guys have a coach at all, or
Team coaching with Tom Ferry.
okay, great.
I also managed, when I was out in Palm Springs, I managed over 200 properties there in different HOAs. It was a property management company, also did HOA management and also did real estate. It was like
Yeah,
an all-in-one umbrella.
yeah,
And so I did that with two other property managers, and that was a very interesting
yeah.
job.
So you've
Property
been in the
management.
business. You got your feet wet. I love Tom. I followed his dad Mike and Tom for years. I worked for Tom for a few years as a coach. So
Oh, nice.
so when I told the story about the flight attendant beating the paper, that was Tom that told that story. So it's kind of funny, but
That's funny. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but hey, coaching is important, right? I think that as a broker, as an agent, as anybody really, I think everybody needs a coach at some level in their life, in their business, right? Even if you just get coached a couple of times a month, what it does is it helps you realize things that you might not, that are there, but somebody else helps you pull them out. Coaching doesn't tell you what to do, right? It's all that suggestive kind of, so I think, when you talk to someone like yourself who's made that transition and really figured those things out to do, I had to imagine you had a coach in your life helping you do that. So
most definitely. Yeah, I mean, having a coach is essential because you need that structure, and there's things that you can identify in your business that somebody else can. It's like athletes, right? Athletes have coaches, yet they practice and they perfect their craft every single day. They're in there doing the work and trying to perfect their systems, right? And their skill set. I think a coach is essential for your business. I recently hired my own personal coach now. So I've done a lot of group coaching, team coaching. Tom Ferry, I still follow all of his content and his business model. But I got my own coach. And so I'm super excited for that. We actually start Monday. Yeah.
Nice. Good.
Yeah.
Hey, so let's so how does an ADU add value? How do you determine value add to a piece of real estate that you buy and you're adding that extra unit to it?
So that's one of the things that we still struggle with because appraisers aren't really taking them into consideration unless, they're, even the income that it's producing, they're not taking it into consideration as much as they should. And so it's very hard to give we can give some rough estimates and go based off comparables in the neighborhood with that additional square footage in mind, which is kind of what the approach that I take. For example, if somebody wants to convert their 400 square foot garage, right? Then I would look at other comparables in the neighborhood that have additional 400 square feet, or let's look at the price per square foot and get a good gauge as to how much your property would go up in value. That's what we can go based off now. Now, back to what I said earlier, the White House had a webinar in which they talked about that this possibly may go nationwide. They talked about having appraisers take a look at the income that these units are producing. They also talked about hopefully coming up with some sort of, financial option for ADUs, because technically there isn't a loan, an ADU loan of preference right out there. There's a lot of HELOCs happening, cash out refis. You can tap into your 401k, but there really isn't a loan product designed specifically for ADUs, right? Aside from construction loans and renovation loans. But that's something they talked about. And I think that it's coming sooner than later. There were between 2018 and 2020, there were 23,000 ADUs built here in California. 34,000 permitted. Yes.
Yeah. And why are appraisers not, have their foot in this yet?
I talked to one of my good friends, Sydney, South Shore Appraisals. He's out in San Diego. He's based out of San Diego, but he does appraisals all throughout San Diego County, LA County, and Riverside County. And one of the things he talked about was that he is able to take a certain amount of condition and certain aspects of the unit into consideration, but they can't take income yet into consideration. I think once they do that, then it's really going to be a game changer. There's also a platform called Houseable.com, and Houseable.com, if you go to their website and you type in your address and you're thinking of building an ADU, you type in your address and you'll get a full report letting you know what it is that you can and can't build, if you're in a fire area, if you're in a coastal area, things to look out for. But the best thing about it is that it shows you sort of like comps around the neighborhood of other homeowners who have used Houseable for their ADU project. So that helps us as well.
Say that website again.
Houseable.com.
Okay. Houseable.
Yeah, and my friend Armando Lopez works there. He's the lead designer for ADUs. Okay. And so what that means is now he's overseeing all of the ADU projects. I check in with Armando twice a week. I get all the feedback. I talk to him. He talks to about probably 30 to 50 homeowners a day on how it is that they can implement the strategy. And so I get to hear the feedback, right? And the insight on as to what homeowners are looking for. And they're looking for financing options, better financing options. And they're definitely looking for somebody to guide them through the process. You need a good team in order to execute this. It's a great strategy, but you can definitely get yourself into, some situations if you don't work with the right people.
Sure. So how many people on your team, speaking of teams?
So I have 3 agents on my team right now. And that's really just the real estate residential side of things. On the ADU team, I do have like certain GCs that I vetted. I've gone to their sites. I've been working with them for the last 2 years, and I consider them part of my team as well. So I have a list of architects that I can recommend, GCs, subcontractors. Because honestly, anybody can do the ADU. You can either hire a team to do it for you, like Houseable or Maxable, or you can do it yourself. They do have like an owner, they call it an older owner builder program where the city will actually help you, right? But you want to know what you're doing at that point as well. So
Yeah.
I would advise the ones who want to go that route to save cost. Make sure you know what you're doing and you actually understand the process.
So there's a pretty cool story that we've heard on the multifamily side that I can't remember who talked about it on Clubhouse, but they bought like a 400 unit deal and added 200 ADUs to it.
Yes,
Are those the
that was
numbers you
Andrew.
know?
So,
Go
yes.
ahead, tell that story.
Andrew, there's actually several. He's doing amazing things. Andrew's a real estate developer. He's the CEO of Casitas, which is also a great ADU company here. He focuses on the residential but mainly the multifamily. And what he talked about in that room was there was a 669 unit complex here in not Long Beach, sorry, Los Angeles. It's actually right by the stadium, great location. 669 units. And because with the ADU legislation that happened for multifamily as well, back in 2019 or 2018, you can now utilize up to 25%. So you can add 25% to that multifamily. And through that strategy, they're actually able to add 220 ADUs to 669 units. So
That's crazy. So do you know any of the fundamentals around that, like why it was more advantageous to do that rather than just build a couple of more buildings, or was it
honestly, obviously because the cost is much less, right?
right?
And I don't know why Andrew thought about that strategy. I think that's kind of what stood out from the other people who were presenting different options.
So
Um,
how is the cost less? So if you're building 1,200 square feet, but you're building a standalone building, don't you still need foundations and footings and all the sub construction things that you need? And you have to follow building codes, right?
you do. But I think once you're building at scale, then obviously the price per square foot will be much less, right? And so I honestly don't even know how he's going to make that project
Mhm.
work. There was another one that was a 42 unit complex. They were able to add 10 units. So that was a much more reasonable deal, right? To
Yeah.
actually be able to process. How can you process 220 ADUs onto a 669 unit building? I mean, and he actually showed me the presentation. I think it's definitely doable. What they're doing is the 200 ADUs is not only a combination of the ground up units that they're going to put in between some of the other units, they're also converting the garages or building on top of the garage, as long as the garage has that structure, right, and that foundation laid out correctly. So
Interesting. So, do you see that this will do anything different to the real estate business, or do you just see it as an add-on? Where do you see it going?
I definitely see it being the new norm, both on the residential and the multifamily. And as you know, I'm looking for guidance, like, from people like you and Andrew to show me the way on the multifamily side, because I want to talk to investors. I want to let them know, like, hey, this is how powerful this strategy is on the multifamily side, right? And create more awareness. I don't think we have enough awareness, but we are getting there with time and educating people. And I think as soon as people know how to implement the strategy, they'll be able to, because this strategy can be implemented by a potential buyer, potential investor, a homeowner, a future homeowner. I mean, really anybody can implement the strategy. If you're doing a fix and flip, maybe you don't want to tear down walls or go under the floor and, have to open up a can of worms. You can literally, right? You can literally stay within the existing space and just get creative with that space. I think on the multifamily side as well, I've been talking to other real estate developers. And if you're having a mixed use type of situation and you have certain office spaces that you're no longer using, you may want to STR those out, right?
Yeah.
Convert them, STR, or build them first, then convert them. That's something that Andrew has been teaching me as well. They're actually building them first, then converting them into additional dwelling units after. And I don't know enough about that process, but yeah.
See, I live in Chicago, and in Chicago they have coach houses, right? So all these, not all of them, but a good number of 2 flats and 3 flats. The lots in the city are very long, 125 feet, and there was a garage on the back, or a garage with a coach house above it, or maybe not even a garage, but just another coach house, a 2-story building. So there's a lot of that in Chicago, that, for years people have, said, hey, we buy this thing with a coach house, or, we rent out the coach house. So it's interesting. And I have no idea where that whole thing is going to go here in Chicago.
I mean, here I think it's very powerful because the average sales price here in Long Beach is $750,000. And so your mortgage payment on something like that is somewhere between $3,200 to $3,500, assuming you put 20% down, right?
At a 4%
And so
interest?
a lot of people come to me and say, well, how can I keep my mortgage payment at $2,500 or $2,000? And I say, well, if you're looking to buy here, it's almost impossible to get that type of mortgage. What you can do though is you can buy a house at $750 with that $3,400 payment, and then rent out the garage for $1,500, $2,000. Now that's helped you offset your mortgage, and now you get that payment that you're looking for at $2,500. If you're talking to investors, I mean, I'm sure that adding or converting existing space is definitely going to give them more of a spread, right?
Yeah.
And if you're talking on the multifamily side, with the acquisition side of things, it's definitely going to help that bottom line, right?
Yeah.
Because you can increase rents, and it just makes sense all around, I think. I think that it will become the new norm. SB9 though is making some moves. SB9 is what ADUs were 2-3 years ago.
So what's SB9?
SB9 is Senate Bill 9. This is a bill that was passed this year. And so we still have to see what that looks like. But I think it reminds me a lot of ADUs back when they first started, because it was such a new terminology, such a new process. Municipalities weren't up to speed with it. I mean, some local business and planning offices didn't even have an ADU application, right? Now they do. They've learned to streamline the process. They have pre-approved plans, like I said earlier. So the city of Long Beach, LA City, they have about 40 to 50 different pre-approved plans set already. So you can go to the city. And for those of you who are thinking of building or converting an ADU and you don't know where to get started, go to the city, right? Google your local ADU ordinance or schedule an appointment with city and planning. They are more than happy to help you. And I think that's where you start, right? Many people are afraid to ask these questions, and the city's just there to tell you what you can and can't do. And as long as you stay within those regulations and requirements, you're good.
Yeah, nice. So where do you see the real estate market going? So you're pretty in tune with things going on. Where do you see us going as we, spin out of the pandemic here, hopefully, knock on wood, and world starts to, see some normalcy again this summer? Where do you see real estate going?
Man, that's such a tough question. I ask myself every day, inflation is up, interest rates are slowly creeping up. I don't see houses coming down because, again, we are in such a housing shortage. And the land that we do have, we're trying to get creative with it. And now you bring ADUs into the picture. And, for example, what I'm seeing is on the real estate side of things, a lot of people are willing to pay overprice because they know that they can either build or convert existing space
Hmm.
or possibly tear down and build units, right?
Right.
And so depending on the zoning. And so I don't see this slowing down at all, possibly within the next 2 to 3 years. That's just my personal take, but who knows? I think if rates creep up more than 5%, then maybe we'll see some sort of a slowdown and prices will have to adjust. But I really don't know. It's very hard to say. That's a good question. What are
So
your thoughts?
yeah, I kind of I drew a line in the sand a couple of months ago. I said I actually think that we have about right now maybe 14, 15 months left of this robust market. I think we're going to see some shifts. But what's funny is people, your buyer, right? Your residential buyer is going to start to say, "Oh, interest rates are so high," because they got accustomed to this 3%, sub 3% interest rate, and now at 4%, 5%. Traditionally, interest rates have been 8% for the last 30 years, historically, averaged out 8%. I remember, and this will date me a little bit, but I remember when I first got in the real estate business, interest rates were 16%. And um, I remember when I went in the business and a guy in the office, I said, "So what's the business like right now?" He goes, "The business is so fast that houses are selling while the sign is still vibrating from them installing it in the front yard." And I'm like, "Okay, so how do we play this game, right?" And I think that it's an interesting space that we're in. You know, you brought up a key word that I talk about all the time, and that's inflation. And what do people do to offset that inflation? So, I'm a multifamily advocate. So, I think that people should have some passive money in multifamily, and that they should be in assets that the rent goes up at the rate of inflation, and you protect your cash flow and you protect your long-term wealth as a result of that. So that's why the fundamentals behind multifamily are so extremely solid, right?
I agree. And I think one way to offset it is doing just that, investing in multifamily, investing by adding the ADU strategy. And now that I've been learning about opportunity zones, I'm like mind blown. I'm like, okay, now you buy a multifamily, you apply the ADU strategy, and you make sure it's in an opportunity zone,
So talk
and you
about
hold it for 10 years.
yeah, yeah. Talk about the opportunity zone thing a little bit. What's your take on that?
I mean, I think it's a great investment opportunity. I think that just like ADUs, a lot of people don't know about ADUs. A lot of people don't know about opportunity zones as much. So they'll rather go for like a 1031 exchange option rather than exploring the opportunity zone idea where they can invest in in an area where it's considered an opportunity zone, hold that investment for 10 years and not have to pay capital gains on that. That's, I mean,
Yeah.
when I heard that, I was like, okay, I need to learn more about this for sure.
Did I hear that those are going away here in the next few years? That there's just a short window on being able to get into those, or is that not
You know
correct?
what? Maybe, maybe not. I'm having a podcast coming up with Adam Stone. He's a real estate attorney and he has an ADU OZ fund. So he has an
Oh,
ADU opportunity fund here in San Diego. And I'm excited to interview him so I can learn more about that and possibly become, a member of his fund as well because it's ADU and it's
yeah,
it's well aligned with my goals.
yeah, nice. Hey, so who's your buyer today? Is it an investor or is it a homeowner? Where are you um, finding that? Where's your niche in that?
I'm gonna say it's a combination of both, but definitely steering more towards investors. And honestly, I mean, even homeowners need to start thinking as investors. And that's part of
Hmm.
having this whole ADU conversation is helping. I'm teaching the idea of an ADU, right? And that is that as a homeowner, if you're too scared to become an investor, that's a great way to tap into the investment mindset, right? Is,
Yeah.
rent out your garage, start small, rent out the back, or do a little unit back there and then rent it out and start small. And now you start thinking like an investor, right? And that's really the goal is everybody who works with me, I want to help them scale. And they may come in with the idea of buying their first house. And then after talking to me, I'm like, hey, this is the type of market we're in. It's very competitive. You need to do
Right.
this, and that. And why don't you look at it from this angle? Right. And I bring in the ADU strategy, and 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh my God, I never even thought about this. Right. And I love to see those reactions when people come to you with the idea of having a certain real estate goal in mind, and then you obviously help them expand their mindset, right? And then teach them the ropes so then you can do multiple transactions with them down the line. As long as you stay in contact with these people, you create great relationships. That's my main thing, whether it's an investor or a first time home buyer. It's a relationship, and we definitely can work towards bigger and better things together.
Yeah. So do you do any webinars or seminars in your office? Tell what types of things do you do for exposure and to create, that buzz in your environment?
So I have webinars once a month, ADU webinars. I've done 3 this year so far. And every ADU webinar, I try to incorporate new updates, new things. The one that I did last month, I went over the stats that the White House went over on how many ADUs were built, where they see this going, what type of financial and lending conversations they had with, Fannie and Freddie, and what to expect. Yesterday, I was at another webinar with Andrew, and it was in regards to multifamily, just learning the ropes on that. And I'll probably start teaching some of the residential clients, hey, you may want to tap into multifamily. Have you thought about, and multifamily doesn't have to be 5, 10, 20 units. It can be 2 to 4, right?
Yeah,
And,
right,
and
right.
build another 2, 3, 4 ADUs. Now you went from a duplex to a 5 unit.
Right. So that's one of the things I teach people is I say that there's a lot to be made. You can make a fortune in small multifamilies, that residential side, 2 to 4 units. Matter
Right.
of fact, I just had Kathy Fetke on my podcast, and we talked about that when she first got in the business. And I don't know if you know who she is, but they have a group called Think Multifamily. And when she got in, she talked about that the first 4 or 5 years of just doing all under 10 unit deals and building a portfolio on that. And you've got me thinking about some of the property I own and some of the property I've passed on because thinking, oh, the deal doesn't work. But does this make the deal work now? So I have to go back and
Exactly.
look at some of these deals and say, wow, if there's a little bit of extra land, can I go build an ADU? Right? Because I don't necessarily need an easement for this. It's not like I need a driveway. I can have a sidewalk that goes right up next to my existing building to the backyard, right? So that makes a big deal where you would think before, well, if I was going to build a garage or a carport or something, I don't have the space, I can't do that. How do I add value? And I'm a real out of the box creative thinker. I like to find ways to add revenue to property.
Right.
You got me sitting here this morning going, wow, I wonder if I can add a couple of these to that proproperty and what that
Yeah,
would
yeah.
what that would look like revenue wise, right? So
And that's exactly it. That having these conversations are just eye-opening, right? For a lot of people. I mean, you're now thinking about your investments and how creative you can get with those. I also have these same conversations with first-time home buyers or with investors.
yeah,
Investors come to me, they're like, hey, I'm looking for this, and that. I'm like, have you thought about doing an ADU or maybe converting that instead of doing all this? And they're like,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
we didn't even think about that.
yeah.
you
So
know?
listen, let's talk about some fun stuff.
Okay.
Business always, but are you a sports fan at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I played softball throughout high school. I was a catcher and pitcher, mainly catcher though. and huge baseball fan. Mainly a baseball fan, but I played softball because obviously we can't, as women, there was no Major League Baseball for women.
Are you a Dodgers or an Angels fan?
I gotta say both.
Okay.
But I will go with the Dodgers. You know, I did some
Um,
volunteer work for 2 years. I volunteered at the Major League Baseball Youth Academy in Compton.
okay.
And I did broadcasting there in Spanish with all the baseball players. That was really fun. So, yeah, I'm a huge baseball fan at
Yeah.
heart. But softball, is
Yeah.
also
I love
a
baseball
good
and the
passion of
good
mine.
I love baseball and the good news is that pitchers and catchers will be reporting here pretty soon. So spring is coming, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm a White Sox fan. The Dodgers are my second love. So
Oh, nice. Yeah,
yeah,
no, huge. I have to say Dodgers first because I am in LA County. I don't
yeah.
want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I'm so close to Orange County. Like I love Angels as well.
One of my most favorite stadiums in the country though is at San Diego Stadium.
San
Um,
Diego is so nice.
Unbelievable stadium, really nice, a lot of fun. How about best book you've ever read?
Man, I read so many books. I have a goal to read one book a week minimum,
Holy
and
cow!
yeah,
Holy
Audible. Audible comes in
Audible,
handy.
yeah.
But I mean there's a couple, there's so many good ones. The one that I recently read that was great was called The Miracle Mentality by Tim. No, it's not Tim Grover. I'll send you the book, but it's called The Miracle Mentality. Great book. Just, it talks about every aspect of your life, how to improve. I have an 8-year-old son, so improving parenting skills,
Yeah,
business skills, personal development, and that's what I love about real estate is that it's not just real estate related, right? In order for you to be a good podcaster, for you to be a good person in the multifamily space, a good father, we have to have our intentions set. That's why I love the name of your podcast, My Core
yeah,
Intentions. We
yeah,
have to make sure all of that is in alignment. And so I do a lot of personal development, you know.
yeah.
I
That's
really
very
do. And
cool.
that's what I like about real estate. I cannot be a good realtor, a good mother, a good person out in society if I'm not good
Yeah,
internally, right?
yeah. That's awesome. I think growing and learning and personal development is so important. I heard somebody say a while back that the reason that she liked multifamily investors so much is because they continued to learn. And I think that real estate in general, we're just in a space where it's continually fluid. It's certainly not like it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's totally different. And, it continually changes, right? So, and what's really cool is I get to learn from people like you. You get to learn from people like me,
Yes.
and it's an ever changing space. And you and I both have a bunch of mutual friends that we've learned a ton of stuff from. So, it's just kind of cool how you can continue to grow. How about best restaurant?
Oof, there's so many good restaurants here in LA. I'll go with the Plunge. I love the Plunge
Oh,
here in Long Beach. It's
what?
it's great views. I'll send you a video next time I go there because I also go there like once a week.
Well, I may have to come out. We may have to go
Oh
together.
yeah, yeah, that would be even better. You know what? We got to connect with Omar and Andrew, and when you come out here, we'll all kind of have our
Yeah,
own clubhouse live, our
yeah.
mini clubhouse live.
Hey, that might be worth doing that anyhow. We should
We
talk.
should,
We
yeah,
should
we'll
all
definitely
collaborate on
do
that.
that.
Yeah. So restaurant I love is Javier's down
Oh, I
in
love Javier's. Yeah,
Newport
you
Coast.
can't go wrong
Yeah.
with Javier's ever.
I remember when that was just a little place in town in Laguna, and
Really?
oh yeah, and then he built that place out there. So
You know
kind of
what? There's
cool.
I went to a recent well, there's also a Nick's here in Long Beach, but there's the Nick's restaurant in Laguna as well.
Is
And
that
that's a
a
great restaurant.
Nick's Fish Market or?
It's just called Nick's on
Oh, okay.
Second. Nick's, yeah.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Um, so, uh, one more question. Tourist attraction.
Oof. Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah. Is that history there? Family?
No, no family. My family's from Mexico. I traveled there alone twice, I think. I like
Hmm.
to take solo trips as well. It's
Hmm.
very refreshing for my soul.
Yeah, good for you.
And it's great, right? Like when you have to go somewhere and really talk to people and
Yeah,
you're by yourself, like it really pushes you out of your comfort zone.
yeah.
So I did that. I got to meet awesome people out in the island, and then getting to know people like Omar and other people, I've come to realize like, wow, this place is great. Not only to live here, it's magical. They 98% of the island is opportunity zone, going
Yeah.
back to opportunity zone, and there's great tax incentives for investors. So part of my long-term goal is to have a few Airbnbs out there, especially in San Juan. And honestly, I want to have Airbnbs laid out in different areas that I would go to. So
Hmm.
Puerto Rico is one of them.
That's
Sure.
good for you. Well, you are definitely on a mission, and appreciate all your insight, knowledge. I appreciate the research you've done to gain the knowledge that you've
Thank
gotten.
you so much for that.
I think that's just so cool that you've taken that effort and gone that route. How do people get in touch with you? Where do they find you?
Instagram, Steph Sells Homes. I'm also on TikTok. I'm also on Clubhouse, and I have the same handle. I try to keep it very consistent throughout. And mainly on Instagram is where I connect with all of my followers and my community and ADU community. And yeah, I mean, thank you again, Mike, for having me. It was honestly, it felt like another Clubhouse room. And I
Yeah,
can't even believe an hour has gone by. It doesn't even feel like it.
I don't know.
This
It's
is
kind
what
of
we do
cool,
every
right?
day, guys. I swear it was not scripted.
Yeah,
This is what we do.
yeah. And for sure, you and I know how to hang out. That's for sure. So,
That's
hey,
for sure.
before I'm going to move you to the back room just to wait for me, and we can catch up before we go. But hey, do you know about the women's event that we're having March
I
8th?
heard you talking about it. So where do I sign up? I want to be part
Yeah.
of that.
So let me just tell you about this really quick. I spoke at an event here in Chicago at the end of January, and after the event, I wound up at dinner with a good handful of people, including one of my assistants. And Carol says to me when we leave dinner, she says, "You need to do a Women's Day event." And I'm like, "God, Carol, I have so much going on. What do you mean?" She said, "Well, Women's Day is coming up March 8th. All these ladies have all these questions. They want information. You need to put something on." I'm like, "Carol, I'll tell you what, you and Diana get together. You guys plan something." That's Diana's my assistant, my personal assistant. And I said, "You and Diana get together. You guys plan something, and I'll show up." Well, they planned something, all right. So they put this event together, and I have to credit my team for it because without our team, Stephanie, you and I are really nothing, right? So I have to credit my team for doing this, putting this together. But we have a couple of phenomenal speakers. A friend of mine from Canada, she's a single mom, has 6 kids. I'm not gonna hijack her story, but she's a phenomenal individual. She's single mom with she is in the credit repair business and the
Okay.
mortgage business. So, and then I have another woman that I happen to meet just kind of along the way here, not Clubhouse or anything. I was on a virtual meetup 2 months ago.
Virtual meetup. Look
Yeah,
at you.
and
Okay.
and I heard this woman, and I went, "Oh my gosh, she's I need to meet her." So entrepreneur, very spirited, very uplifting, wants women to succeed. So we created this event. I have a small piece in the morning, and then they're going to speak, and then we're going to do a Q&A at the end. But it's March 8th from
Okay.
8 a.m. Again, it'll be an early morning for you, but
Yeah. And I have a podcast that day, but that's okay. My podcasts are at 11:30.
Oh, okay,
So,
yeah. So this is from 8 a.m. till 11 Central Time. So
okay.
anybody wants to register, they can go register. Email Diana at admin at My Core Intentions. She'll send you a link, or I can send you a link, whatever. But we'll get you registered, and it'll be a fun day. So love to have you there. So,
Awesome. I'm there. I'm
all
there,
right.
Mike.
Hey, everybody, you want to get a hold of Stephanie? Her phone number is here. I'll leave that up for a minute. Steph, I'm going to move you to the back. Hang for me for a minute. We'll check out. So, hey, everybody. Boy, what a great show this morning, right? Stephanie Gutierrez from Long Beach, California, talking about ADUs, that auxiliary dwelling unit that you can put in the backyard have in the backyard, utilize some dead space, an old garage, or a coach house above that garage. But take a look at it for your area and see if it's something that works. If you want information, if you need information, reach out, contact Stephanie, reach out, contact me, and I'll get you in touch with her, however you need to do that. But I think it's a great opportunity, whether you're a homeowner trying to offset your mortgage a little bit, whether you're a real estate investor trying to get into that multifamily space, this could be an inroad for you into that space. Remember, a couple things coming up this month: passive real estate investment seminar or webinar this week. Nothing specific, no specific deal, just generalities about passive investing and how to offset inflation against it. You heard about the women's event coming up March 8th, and then multifamily fundamentals boot camp. And I also want you to know that if you're looking for something to read, if you want to read Exit Plan, if you want to read the ebook on multifamily fundamentals, or if you're looking to be a passive investor and you're looking for those questions to vet a sponsor, to vet a deal, go to my website. If you go to mycoreintentions.com/free, you can grab any one of those periodicals. So, hey, I'm glad you were here. We'll be here next Saturday. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Hopefully the sun is shining wherever you're at.